All right, so now this is number 20 on the chapter 3 review. And so we've got more parallels. So I could do a C here, but right now this C is not going to help me because I have two different variables. I always want to not do an equation with two variables if possible. But I do have an F like this. And so on that F, we know armpit angles are congruent. So 2x plus 4 equals 44. Subtract 4, 2x equals 40. Divide by 2, so x is 20. And so I know that this is 44 degrees. So I'm going to get rid of that x business and just put 44 degrees. All right, so then now you can use that C that we had talked about earlier. Right here. And so in a C, remember those are supplementary, so I know that 4y plus 44 equals 180. So subtract 44. 4y is going to equal 136. And then you're going to divide, and so then that means that y is 34. So that concludes that section. Now for 21 and 22, this is something we did in sections 3.5 and 3.4. Specifically, this is 3.4. And so what we're going to do is we want to decide if they're parallel, perpendicular, or neither. And so we need to find slope. So you got to use slope formula. You will need to know that. It won't be given to you on the test. So y is on top. I'll do 0 minus negative 3. And so then I have to do 4 minus negative 3, have to go in the same order. So that'll be 0 plus 3 is 3, 4 plus 3 is 7, so I've got 3/7 as my first slope. Find the slope of the second one, so 5 minus negative 2, the y's always go on top, negative 2 minus negative 5 on bottom, so 5 plus 2 is 7. Negative 2 plus 5 is 3, so that's 7/3. This would be a neither. They're reciprocals of each other, but they're not opposite reciprocals of each other to be able to be perpendicular. The signs are the same. Opposite means they have different signs, 1 plus 1 minus. Okay, 22, find the slope of AB. So then that's going to be 3 minus negative 4. So then I have to go 2 minus negative 2. So that's 3 plus 4 is 7. 2 plus 2 is 4, so I've got 7/4 there. Slope of the bottom one, I'll do negative 4 minus 3. Negative 3 minus 1. So that's what? Negative 7 over negative 4. Negative divided by negative is a positive 7/4. So this would be parallel because the slopes are exactly the same. Okay? All right, next. This is from section 3.5, writing equations of lines given some information. So here, this is the easiest kind. So you're just going to plug it in. Y equals 3x minus 5 is your equation. So that one you don't need to show any work for. These you do, because you're given a slope and a point, but the point is not the slope, the y-intercept. So then I'm going to use y equals mx plus b. Use this as my x and my y, so I can solve for b. So y is 4, m is negative 1/2, x is negative 2, and we don't know what b is. Multiply negative 1/2 times negative 2 is positive 1. So then minus 1. So for this one, b equals 3. So slope and your b. So y equals negative 1/2 x plus 3. Okay, so that goes with that problem. So now for number 25, they don't give you a slope or the y-intercept, so you have to find slope and the b. So first we have to use slope formula. So then I'll do -7 minus 2 on top, -8 minus 4 on bottom. So what's that? -9 over -12. Negative divided by negative is positive, and I can divide both of these by 3, so that leaves 3/4. So m is 3/4. And then you can pick either one of these. I'm going to pick this one and use that to plug in to y equals mx plus b. So the y value is 2. The m we found was 3/4. The x is 4, because I'm using the 0.42, and then we don't know b. So when you multiply 3/4 times 4, you get 3. So now subtract 3, sorry. So b is -1. So use your b and the m that we came up with. So y equals 3/4 x minus 1. Okay, so you have to be able to write equations of lines given different pieces of information. All right, and then the last two were proofs, and these are fill in the blank, but you could also have putting in the right order ones. So always the first statement is your given information. And we also want to mark the given information only. Do not mark the prove information in your picture. So A parallel to B, angle 2 congruent to angle 1. All right, now they're telling us angle 2 is congruent to angle 3. And so I've got parallel lines cut by transversal, then alternate interior angles are congruent. So that's the AIA theorem. It's not the converse, because this is not proving parallel lines. This is just these angles are congruent because of AIA theorem. Then we put in what we're trying to prove is the last statement. And if you look in the picture, though, 1 and 3 are not any special types of angles. So then that should tell you this is going to be transitive property. And the reason is because if you go back and look 2 steps, angle 2 congruent to angle 1, angle 2 congruent to angle 3, they have angle 2 in common. And you write what's left over, that's transitive property. It's not substitution property because there is no such thing as substitution when you have congruent signs. Okay, and then the last one is number 27. There is no way to mark supplementary. Don't mark the prove information or you'll lose points. You only mark the given information in your picture. So there's no way to do that, so we're good there. Then first statement is always the given. And my last statement is always what I'm trying to prove. Okay. So then on number 2, they're telling me that measure of angle 6 plus measure of angle 3 is 180 degrees. Well, the previous step, I told you they were supplementary, and so what says that we can add them up and set them equal to 180 is definition of supplementary. And another hint was that I gave you, if you see words in the given information, that means you're going to use definition of that word somewhere in your proof, and it's usually right after the given, if that's the given information. Okay, next, 6 and 5 add up to 180. Well, if you look at your picture, they didn't say anything up here about angles 6 and 5 being supplementary, so you're not going to use definition of supplementary. But if you look at your picture, 6 and 5, what kind of angles are those? Those are a linear pair, so then this is linear pair postulate. Because linear pair postulate says if you have a linear pair, then they are supplementary, so they add up to 180. Okay, our next step, notice we have 2 equations equal to 180, and then they got rid of the 180s and just set these 2 left sides equal to each other. So you could either write transitive for that, or you could have written substitution property. Depends on how you're looking at it. So if you're doing substitution, it's because this side and this side, the left sides of these equations are the same, but they took out the 180 on the right side and put in this stuff because that stuff also equals 180. Or transitive, where you got these 2 things, they have 180 in common, so you cross out 180 and write those things equal to each other, either one. Okay, on here, notice that you went from step 4 to step 5, and from step 4 to step 5, we have some things that are the same. I've got angle 3 is there, on the left side, and angle 5 is there on the right side. So they got rid of angle 6 to get to step 5. So what's that called when you get rid of something on both sides? That's subtraction property. They subtracted the measure of angle 6 from both sides. Now they didn't add an extra step in here and say measure of angle 6 equals the measure of angle 6 for reflexive. So they may just jump without that piece. Okay? Then from step 5 to step 6, notice it's the same exact angles. They just changed from equal to congruent. And so if angles have equal measures, then they're congruent. That is definition of congruent angles. Okay. And then parallel, remember whenever we're proving parallel, it's converse of. And then to figure out which one it is, you go back one step. Angle 3 is congruent to angle 5. And in your picture, notice that 3 and 5 are alternate interior angles. And so the reason that these are parallel are the converse of the AIA theorem. Converse says if alternate interior angles are congruent, then you can prove the lines are parallel. So that's why we use the converse of whenever you're trying to prove that lines are parallel. Okay, and that is the review. Make sure that you're getting in your Cornell note repetitions. I will be taking your notebooks and checking a day of notes and looking for those, all 4 of those repetitions. Circle keywords and highlight main ideas. Chunk notes and write questions for each chunk. Make sure it's 3 questions per chunk, 2 level 1s and 1 level 2. Write the answers to your level 2 and 3 questions. If you make it level 3, that'd be awesome. And write that in the notes column where you left space. And then the last one I'll be looking for is writing your summary that answers the essential question for the day. So make sure you're thorough and you thoroughly answer the essential question in your summary. Okay? And I will see you then on Tuesday, ready to take the test.